And one of the other aspects of that, and like in being able to drive alignment, and I think you highlighted this, and when you first joined, there was really inflated costs around like the sales qualified lead, right? And so I think, and that alignment was naturally driven just based out of necessity to have that be a more manageable number. Is that a fair?
Yeah, I mean, I can go into, so when I joined, I don't think I can give the exact numbers, but the goal was probably like 20x what we would want our SQL, cost per SQL to be. And the reason for that is that the people driving the advertising weren't in any way related to the SDR or sales team. They were looking at new users, net new users. And net new users to us meant organic traffic. It meant people that we have a free product. So people that sign up for the free product were coming from paid advertising in vast numbers. And then, you know, they'd disappear into the abyss because they weren't qualified leads. And so that gap in understanding that, like, the more time you put between someone signing up for your product or you getting a name or a lead, and the longer it takes the SDR to work it, the more likely you are to see higher costs, right? Because you're dragging the process out, you have a lot of friction points. And so what we did is like sort of obvious, I think, but it was important, is we like just immediately, anything that was paid now points only at the sales team, right? So we are able to just like take out the rest of that funnel. And then when you put them there, we could then control the costs a lot easier because we could see what keywords were driving SQLs. Whereas before, for advertising and particularly SEM, they couldn't really attribute that because all the keywords drove free signups, of course. And then once you get into the free product, it's really hard for us. And sorry, to back up a little bit, like our SDR team was sort of drowning in leads because they had all these free people that were coming in, but not very qualified. And so one of the like big initiatives on top of fixing advertising I did and like pulling the costs down 22%, I think. I can just say it's dramatically lower. It's at a reasonable goal now. Is that they are now able to take the leads that they get and we're able to filter them into a way where they get, instead of getting 2,000 leads a month that were like from India and made no sense, they now get 400 leads a month that are qualified based on the nurtures that the demand gen team is doing. And so all of that sounds really simple, but actually what I've learned in this whole process is like your marketing ops and the tools you use to support all of this are critical. And like how you build that out and how you think about the different points of like where it becomes important is how you support an SDR team, you support a sales team, and you grow a pipeline. And so what we've kind of spent what I've spent 8 months doing basically is redoing Marketo and setting up really advanced lead scoring that is able to tell people like, okay, this person did this and this, and we now know that they're building a product. And to complicate things for us, we're not a simple SaaS product like a lot of people where it's like, you know, if you were buying, I'm trying to think of a good example, Salesforce even, it's just like, oh, I have a sales team, I need Salesforce, right? For us, it's more complicated. You have to actually be building something because we're a developer product. So you have to have the need for the product. We can't just like go outbound to you and hope for the best. And so what we're now able to do is use both demographic and behavioral information to feed that into the SDR team. And they're not just getting pinged like, hey, you have a lead, but they're getting pinged with all that enhanced information on our website, which is like fairly complex because it's an old company, of like, which blogs did they visit? What document pages have they looked at? What are they likely building? What industries are they interested in? Because you can't always tell that for us just off of a website because it's not so simple. Like, you might be in healthcare, but you might be using us for a device, and it's like that's a complex Pubnub problem, but it has enhanced the way that we're able to think about leads and then funnel them through to the sales team. And like looking at all those important points of like, for me, what I started with is like, okay, like how many leads are there? What's the cost per an MQL? What's the cost per an SQL? What's the conversion rate from MQL to SQL? Okay. And then what's the conversion rate from our SQL is like kind of like a sales accepted lead. Okay. And then what's the conversion rate from there to accepted by the AE team, which we call accepted SQL. And so those are like my friction points. And then I also, when I like want to, you know, close the gap. And so I'm like, all right. And then from accepted SQL, what's my likelihood to close? And what's the timeline around that? And when will I win back my advertising money or the money I put in to self-service or whatever I'm enhancing with nurtures from my staff so that I can clearly show ROI to the CFO.